I've put together quite possibly the simplest list of pros and cons that you'll ever need when deciding to make a move to the upstate of South Carolina. So kick your shoes off, stay a while. Salutations, good people. I'm Josh Oglesby, and sleeping behind me is Dempsey. Now, South Carolina is broken up into 4 regions: the Upstate, the Midlands, the PD, and the Low Country. Now, if you have your eyes on the Upstate region of South Carolina, you're going to have a much better understanding on what to expect after this video of pros and cons. Let's start with the first pro. Whether you're trying to get to North Carolina, Georgia, or Tennessee, the Upstate is within about 3 hours of all of these states. Another really convenient part of the Upstate and its location is how we're situated kind of in the middle of Atlanta, Georgia, and Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte and Atlanta being the hub for a lot of big events, concerts, things of that nature, being about an hour and a half to 2 hours from Charlotte and about 2 to 2.5 hours from Atlanta, depending on what part of the Upstate you're in. And if you need to take a flight out of the Upstate of South Carolina, you have the options of flying out of GSP Airport, and Charlotte and Atlanta's airports are within reasonable driving distance to fly out of. So when looking at layovers and where to fly out of, you have options. So the first con on today's list is also going to be the Upstate's location. So how can my first pro and con of the video both be about the location? Well, it depends on how you look at it. Arguably, the most attractive thing about South Carolina is our beautiful beaches, excluding Myrtle Beach. I mean, I'm sorry, Myrtle, but you have fallen quite a long ways. And from the Upstate, you could be anywhere from 4 to maybe 6 hours away from the beach of your choice on the coast of South Carolina. However, this could be a positive thing if tropical storms just aren't your thing. I know if I had to evacuate, I'd have to carry this little guy out. He'd just sleep right through it. Now, the next pro in today's video is going to be the Upstate's weather. In the Upstate region, we have mild winters, warm summers, and overall, we have a subtropical climate. We even tend to run a few degrees cooler than Columbia, South Carolina. If it's seasons that you're after, the Upstate is going to be a good place for you, compared to, say, a Charleston, South Carolina, where it's going to be a lot more humid and a lot buggier, even though we have our fair share of bugs, that's for sure. The next con of the Upstate is public transportation. Now, the Upstate region of South Carolina doesn't have what you'd call a very comprehensive public transportation system. So if you're coming from a city or state where public transportation is a lot more popular and that's how a lot of folks get to work, you may have to start considering a change of how you get from home to work. And of course, owning a car is an absolute necessity. However, in the days of just calling an Uber, this may not be a really big concern to you. Now, another positive thing about living in the Upstate of South Carolina is how it's cheaper than most other parts of the state, especially if you're considering living on the coast. The Upstate can be as much as 10% cheaper than living on the coast of South Carolina or other parts. Cheaper housing, cheaper local tax. Now, the next con of living in the Upstate of South Carolina is going to be the very limited nightlife. If you're someone who likes to go out and hit the town, you're going to have to stay in somewhere like a Greenville to really enjoy a thriving nightlife scene. Whereas other parts of the state, like Columbia and the coast of South Carolina, have a little bit bigger and better thriving nightlife scene than the more mountainous region of the Upstate. The next pro of today's video, and quite possibly the biggest pro on today's list, is the thriving and growing job market. The Upstate is a growing economy with a range of industries, including manufacturing, healthcare, and technology. Michelin and BMW are a good example of the big players in Upstate South Carolina when it comes to providing jobs. If you're looking for lack of jobs as an excuse not to go to work, don't move to the Upstate. Now, the next con on today's list is going to be the rising housing costs. Overall, the average home in the Upstate has risen 9% every year since the pandemic. Now, that's a rough average. However, in some areas, the price of housing has went up astronomically. Now, while we are seeing the housing market cool off a little bit, Upstate South Carolina still has better housing rates than the coast of South Carolina, and South Carolina as a whole has more affordable housing rates than most states in the country. The next pro on today's list is friendly people. South Carolina residents are absolutely known for our southern hospitality, and we typically try and follow the golden rule. Now, don't get me wrong, we have our bad days, and some of us may fall victim from time to time to terrible cases of road rage. Not me, though. I love everybody on the road. They don't have to ride with me when I'm showing them houses. And despite all these comments you may see online of folks saying, "We're full, please don't move here," once you get your bags unpacked, we'll either give you a big hug, handshake, and simply say, "Welcome home." Now, the next con kind of ties into the last pro. Simply put, the more popular we get, the more crowded we do get, which does lead to more traffic congestion and those higher housing costs. So if you're looking to get in, get while the getting is where it's at right now. Now, if you found this video helpful at all, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that bell notification to be notified of videos just like this in the future. I've been Josh Oglesby with Real Broker LLC and Upstate SC Living, reminding you to work hard, be kind, and do enjoy yourselves.